and welcome to this session. This is going to be a conversation between me and Miss Arya, who is an MA student from Pondicherry University. She is an intern on my course, Short Fiction in Indian Literature. And today we're going to talk about The Summer Vacation by Kamala Das. So, this is going to be a discussion of some of the aspects that are present in the story in terms of narrative and theme. So, Arya, what are your thoughts on the story?
Summer Vacation is, I think, it's a typical Kamala story. But here I found that the narrator or the child in the story is somebody who's different from Kamala Das. Usually she used to identify herself with the child figure or the narrator. And it's about like, it. I think that it gives a glimpse of Kerala life and about the close relation between Muttashi, the grandmother, and the child. And I found it to be very interesting.
Very good. Okay. So, what are the puzzling aspects of the story in your perspective?
One thing, she is very anxious about her Muttashi. That too, a child worrying about death. I found it to be a bit puzzling.
Absolutely, absolutely. That contrast is very, very interesting because young children don't worry about death unless there is such a tragedy within that particular family. So, a small child, a growing child, worrying about or obsessing about the death of a grandmother, it makes the situation very, very vulnerable and heartrending. So, that contrast is very evident there.
And one more is that the child actually questions Nani about stealing the tamarind. Again, I found that to be puzzling because
Right.
a child, like for an adult, it's usual that they'll watch over others. But for a child to do that, it's something that's not very usual.
Okay. Some children can be very, very authoritative because they pick up that authority from the elders that they are associating themselves with. So perhaps in the case of this girl, she has picked up on this element of power from her grandmother who runs the household like a ship, like a tight ship, right? So that's the source of her power, the fact that she can kind of become a stand-in for her grandmother. And perhaps she has also read somewhere that where there is injustice you should just stop and ask about it or query about it, so which is probably why she's asking all those questions to Nani Amma.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Shall I move on
Yes,
to my
please.
questions? So first, I'd like to know about the significance of summer in summer vacation.
Yeah, Summer Vacation. It's an interesting title, isn't it? And Summer Vacation always indicates a break from the routine. And it's for her, for the girl narrator, it's a break from the city. It's a break from her school term, and where life becomes kind of like a flowing time. So she can be experimental, she can be herself in a different place. So summer is also associated with something being perfect in many people's lives. So in terms of archetypes, it's associated with happiness, stability, vitality, formation of family, and things like that. And in the case of Summer Vacation of Kamala Das, Summer Vacation always hints at break, ruptures, because she is coming from a different place to this place. So those are some of the associations that we can have about the story.
Okay, ma'am. And summer vacation is actually set in an ancient Kerala house. So can you speak about the ethos of Kerala life that is reflected in this short story?
Okay, so the house especially is very, very interesting in that regard because it has separate quarters, right? Vadakini, Tekini, and all these are associated with the typical Nair household. And again, the matriarch is a very, very interesting aspect of society in Kerala. So Muttashi, as you mentioned, is a very interesting figure, and she's at the head of the household, and that's very unique to Kerala, isn't it? And we can also see the girl kind of following the steps of her grandmother there. So that element is pretty clear, and I'm sure there are also references in terms of the names, the various names, and the way they spend their time, and the snacks that they eat. Everything kind of relates to the cultural peculiarities of life in Kerala.
And even I think that the language adds on to giving a feel of Kerala. Like we have Malayalam words interspersed with the usual English words, which is something that Kamala Das used to do. And
Right.
in this one, it's very evident and it's very fascinating.
Can you pick out some of the languages which is kind of indicative of that?
Yes, ma'am. One is obvious, the reference to Nyaval tree.
Nyaval
Nyaval
tree.
is something that's, I think, unfamiliar to others, but for Keralites, it's like a kind of nostalgic association. Then we have reference to the places, Tekkini, Vadakini, Varanda. She have not used any other words. She used the words as such.
Even Muttashi.
Muttashi, Ammu, the word, the names,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Okay, ma'am. Next question. There's a process of growth in the child by acquiring knowledge that takes place throughout the story. She not only learns about the specialities of Nyavaltree, but also about caste, class, and many more. So, according to you, how does this informal education shape the psyche of the child?
Okay, yeah. If you notice the way the two female characters move about in the landscape of this particular narrative, the girl constantly follows the grandmother around. Even if she wakes up, she immediately calls for her grandmother, right? And the two women, or at least Muttashi, is very, very productive. She's constantly picking up stuff. She's constantly thinking about the things that she's going to make, the wicks for the lamps, how she's going to make oil and this and that. And the girl kind of tries to follow her grandmother as well. She's kind of mirroring her grandmother in some sense. And Nyavaltree is very, very interesting because it represents something very specific. And let's read the extract about the Nyavaltree to get a sense of the message that Kamala Das probably wants to communicate. And this is the first reference to the tree that we have. And she says, it was always there, as long as I could remember, a small emaciated tree, somewhat bent and with shriveled up branches. It was a summer with no hint of rains. That's again very interesting in the context of your question about the significance of summer, right? It was a summer with no hint of rains. There's no suggestion of fertility. Life is arid there, probably because women in their prime are absent from the landscape. Amu's mother is dead, and the son-in-law refuses to come home. So that kind of a conjugal domestic life is missing, and that could kind of relate to this idea of aridity in the story, in the association with summer, right? I watched the tree, its leaves, and above the few leaves, the spider's web hanging from a bare, sickle-shaped branch. And this tree is very interesting because, again, this is not in its prime. This is a bent, emaciated tree. It's almost near its end, and everybody can sense that this is a kind of a reflection of or a symbolic reflection of the grandmother Muttashi, right? And it's almost anthropomorphic, right? It resembles a human being who's bent and shriveled, and these words we usually use to describe old people, shriveled and bent. And the spider's web on the tree is very, very interesting because if we see cobwebs and spider's web, then we can sense that place has not been used. It's unused places which get all these cobwebs, isn't it? So that indication on a tree, on a Nyaval tree, again adds to that idea of decrepit nature, isn't it? And this particular image of a sickle-shaped branch, perhaps very symbolic suggestion that it's going to be cut down at some point, either by natural death or by some human being. So that death is looming in the story, isn't it? So we have had several deaths, and then probably the grandmother's death is going to happen at some point, and which is what worries Amu. So lots of symbolic associations are there surrounding this Nyaval tree, which, as you mentioned, is very, very iconic of the element of nostalgia in Kerala. And the idea about summer, the summer without any rain, it makes a big statement about Kerala with its monsoon rains and other things, right? What if there are no monsoon? What if there are no rains? Imagine the landscape there. It becomes very arid, just as the aridity in Mutashi's home, with no young daughter, you know, going about in the house.
Okay. Ma'am, summer vacation, it seriously discussed the problem of death and old age. But interestingly, here Mutashi wants to die. Like people want to live, but she wants to die and consider her survival as a result of the sins committed by her. So, what is the importance of the concept of birth and death in the story?
You're right. She doesn't like to survive. She doesn't like to live, and that's very understandable, because at one point in the story she says that everybody around her is dead, and she gives a list, so to speak, right? And this is what she says: my mother died when she was 40. My uncle at 45. They all die young. And grandmother, if I remember correctly, didn't quite reach 50. And as for Kamalam, and she stops there, and that's probably her daughter, right? And she doesn't even want to mention the number of years that her daughter has lived. And she says, I am a sinner, that's why I stay alive to witness the deaths of so many people. You don't like to see your beloved people die before you. So which is why she says, I am a sinner, that's why God has kept me alive. And I often wonder what further sufferings are in store for me before I die. Again, this foreboding of other deaths, future deaths, is full of forebodings of this kind of tragic loss. So which is probably why she doesn't want to survive. And the other thing is that if you look at this philosophically or symbolically, you can see these deaths as the passing away of tradition, people of the past. Traditions are dying out one by one, and she's like the last guardian of that kind of past, the only one remaining, like the navel tree, which is again very decrepit, very old, and can die at any moment or be eradicated at any moment. And Amu doesn't want to let that happen, right? She's the present, the modern one, who's clinging on to that past. So that kind of suggestions are also there.
Okay, ma'am. So, the story of summer vacation can be said to be centered around mother figures. We have Mutashi and her dead mother. So, up to what extent does this short story uphold and romanticize the ideal of motherhood?
Yeah, you're right. There are several things here. I'm trying to see which one I should respond to first. This story is centered around mother figures, and the most dominant mother figure who is survived is Mutashi, right? And this little girl kind of clings to Mutashi as she would cling to her own mother. But there are also cliches about motherhood in the story. At one point in the story, one of the village gossips says that motherhood and moonlight are alike. You cannot survive without either moonlight or without motherhood. That kind of cliches are also there. It is very, very important, and the loss of a mother is something that is the context, the subtext for this entire story. And perhaps motherhood itself has become a symbol for the age-old past. So if you reject the past, then somehow you're symbolically kind of rejecting your own mother. So it's become mired in tradition and cliches and stereotypes and reality as well. I mean, mothers are really important for their children and for their daughters and for their sons. But then you have additional associations that are kind of associated with this mother figure, and there are so many of them. So if grandmother is also a mother, then she is also a representative of tradition, of the past, of the age-old customs, of a particular way of life, of a lifestyle which is passing away, and the girl doesn't want to let go of that. So it's too complicated to kind of disentangle from one thing after another.
Ma'am, can you speak on the figure of death mother? Because I consider her as an absent presence throughout the story. So how significant is she, even though she is dead?
Yeah, she's very significant because if you look at the closing exchange between the mother-in-law and the son-in-law, he says something like, shall we get that passage to read for our listeners? he says, we used to come here, right? My father said, I shall come next year definitely. I don't know, I don't yet have the courage. Please don't take it amiss. Remember how we used to come every year, the two of us, to that house, and now how to come there all by myself. Please don't misunderstand me, mother. I just cannot do it as yet. So when she asks him, why are you not coming to the house any longer, and he says that it's so painful, it's so difficult to go through that house which has the images of his wife for him. So she's constantly present for him in that house. Visiting that house will be like meeting those, past images of his wife. So it's very, very painful. So she is present in some sense. And she's also present through Muttashi for the little girl. So clinging to her grandmother is a way of clinging to her mother as well. So that absent mother is kind of pervading the household. And even the gossips, the village gossips, when they look at Amu, they constantly are reminded of the death of her mother, right? So they say, poor kid, she doesn't have a mother, which is why she's behaving or thinking in these ways. So that presence is always there.
Okay. Ma'am, Achyutan, Mutashi's servant, is actually presented as a lazy figure with a BD. So, is this portrayal a product of the stereotypes about proletarian life in Kerala?
Interesting. The household that we have in summer vacation, it's a feudal household. It's a matriarchal setup with this grandmother as the boss, as the employer. And if we look at the way Muttashi responds to those around her, she's very, very authoritative. She's very bossy. And she constantly finds fault with the servant, and she says that he's lazy, but we don't see any indications of his laziness in the narrative, right? So her accusation is not proved. She just claims that he's lazy, and she says that he's so lazy I have to go check in on him. And then she goes inside the kitchen and everything is neatly laid out. The bananas, the milk is boiling, the kettle is on the fire, everything is set up. And she tries to look for any particular fault that she can find with him, and she says, why didn't you clean this lamp? That's the only thing that she can find fault with. So she has her own prejudices, but at the same time she has a softer side to her as well. And that becomes evident in the case of Nani Amma. Remember, she says, I can't give you work all the time. You're coming to me quite often. Don't expect me to give you money or rice. But then she ends up doing what she says she won't do it. She just takes the kid in and she tries to feed the kid. She changes the food that she gives her, and she also makes her work. And then at the end of the day, she also gives rice. So we see like contrasting aspects of this grandmotherly figure. It's not a one-dimensional, rough, abrupt figure that we get throughout the story. There are nuances to her. So that's something we need to pay attention to, and I'm not sure whether it's a proletarian, master divide that's quite evident there, but it is a feudal setup, and no doubt about it.
Okay. Ma'am, Tekkini and Vadakkini are two contrasting, or I consider them as polar opposites in the stories. So they are part of the same house, but again they appear to be a part of different social setup. So how do you analyze the dynamics of these two spaces?
So tell me, what function do they serve in the story?
Tekkini is a place for enjoyment of elite women. They come there for gossip, and even we have reference that Achyutan don't like going there. And whereas Vadakkini is referred to as a dark room with the smell of jackfruit, and it's a place where food is served to people like Nani, and the food that is served there is very menial. So I found them to be one representing an elite aristocratic life, whereas the other representing the life among the lowly.
Absolutely, you've put it neatly there. And can we also talk about why she doesn't want her granddaughter to be part of the group that's there in Tekkini? Do you have any idea about that?
I don't know, ma'am, because that's the place where adult women come, share their ideas, gossip, and all. I think that may be the reason that.
Yeah,
she don't
if we go back to that conversation there, if you remember that exact exchange, we have these two women, fat woman, Bharti, I think, who says that, this child has lost her mother, which is probably why she doesn't understand, the way women talk to their children, the way mothers talk to their babies. And Muttashi, I think, has got really offended by that remark, and she wants to save her grandchild from all these remarks by these women from the village. So she says curtly, abruptly, I have work to do. I think my servant is doing no job. He's very lazy. I need to go check in on him. So with that abrupt, curt remark, she just gets up, takes the girl, and walks out. And she's very, very upset by the remarks made by these gossiping village women about the loss of the mother of Ammu. So, which is why the next time there's an opportunity for Ammu to come in contact with these women at Vadakini, she doesn't let her go there. She wants to protect her, and she makes her stay in the kitchen, have her snack there with the servant Achudan, right? So it is a protective gesture there. It can be interpreted as that way, but she doesn't go into a deeper explanation of all her reasons as to why she is not letting a child go there to these women. So there are nuances, as I said, to her character.
And about Vadakini, ma'am?
Yeah, Vadakini, again, it's a dark space, and it's very symbolic as well. So the lower orders get the lowest of the spaces, the darkest of the spaces, and the walls are dark, and these dark women are associated with dark places. And we can also speculate about the community identities of these poor folk, Amini and this Nani Amma, who visit all these people, and work happens in these dark places. Real hard work, physical work happens in these dark, dirty places, so that association is also there. And if you remember Achyutan's dhoti, I think it's also very dark as the walls of the kitchen space, right? So darkness and labor are associated in this work, and both are associated with people who are at the lowest of the low in terms of societal order.
Okay.
So those are the associations that come to my mind.
In Summer Vacation, through her narration, we can see that Kamala has etched a pen picture of each and every corner of the ancestral home. So, what is your opinion on this mode of narration? And do these spatial aspects contribute to the conveyance of the central message of the story? The spaces in the...
Okay, there are several questions, tied up there. One is the question about narration, and the other is a question about spatiality. Can we talk about first the different spaces that crop up when we think about this household of Muttashi? We have Vadakini, we have Tekkini. What are the other spaces that you can think about?
One is Varanda, where she reads Ramayana. There is a religious education that is happening over there. We have the courtyard in which she talks to other women, and there is also a reference about the place in which the ancestors are buried, which is closely related to the theme of death in the story. So these are the different places. Like with these places, we'll get a glimpse of that house, which is situated in Kerala with a lot of trees, with Muttashi, Ammu, and everyone else.
Perfect. Yeah. Talk to me about the veranda where Ramayana is recited to the little girl by the grandmother. What are the symbolic significance that you derive from that space?
Veranda, I think, in Kerala, it's believed to be an auspicious place, like where we'll always we'll pray, or these only auspicious things are happening there, and even girls are not allowed to enter into the veranda during menses period and all. So I think that place has become, as I mentioned earlier, a place of religious education, where she's taught about Ramayana and also about the importance of being following dharma. Even in Muttashi's reference to birth and death, I found that she is tied up in a circle of karma, dharma, believing that we'll get paid for our deeds in the present, in our afterlife.
Very good, very, very good interpretation, because right after that scene we have the interaction with Nani Amma and Ammani, which kind of forms the climax of the story, isn't it? And then we have the resolution at the railway station. So after listening to this set of religious verses, she thinks that it is her righteous position or task to kind of question injustice when it happens to her family. So there could be a connection there. And there's also communion with nature. She looks at the sky. There seems to be a connection to the cosmos there, while the religious verses are being recited to her. So yeah, you're quite right.
Okay, ma'am. Next question. Nani, the subaltern woman who toils hard to meet the two ends of her life, is one of the most striking figures in the story. Is she a foil to Mutashi, who enjoys all the boundaries of her life and respected by virtue of her caste and class?
Yes, good question. Yes, she is a foil to Mutashi. I mean, the immediate parallel that strikes me is the fact that both of them are with daughters, right? Granddaughters in the case of Mutashi, but we have a kind of a mother-daughter mirror image in Nanyama and Amini, right? So and one woman is very, very wealthy and powerful and authoritative and is a big presence in the story. She dominates the story. And we have another woman who's very weak, vulnerable, but then she tries to get by with whatever she has. And at one point in the story, when she first comes to Mutashi to ask for work, Mutashi is kind of brusque. She's very abrupt. And if you look at the reaction of Naniamma, she's not disappointed, she's not upset, she just stands there simply smiling and kind of caressing her daughter's head. So that gesture is very, very important, I thought, because she's not in a position to even react with displeasure. She just have to take everything with equanimity, and that's very sad. The fact that you can't even show your real emotions because you can't afford to. So that contrast is brought out really well in that particular scene. And you can see Amu looking at her ring that she wears, and she says it's a very interesting ring. She's really fortunate to wear that ring. And that particular remark can be interpreted in so many ways. Why can't that woman wear a ring? I mean, doesn't she have aesthetic taste? Why is she fortunate to wear that ring? Is she fortunate because she's wearing that ring? So you can ask multiple questions about that remark. So yes, she is a foil to Mutasi, and because Mutasi commands the respect wherever she goes, and she is totally the recipient of the opposite set of emotions, isn't it?
And she has a space of her own.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. She has a space of her own, spaces that are discriminated and set apart for each and every community and walk of people from different walks of life. So yes, she is quite powerful.
Okay. The child is a witness to the unfolding of the power relations between Nani, Achyutan, and Muttashi in the story. Imbibing these notions, she watches Nani with an eye of suspicion. So is it right to say that unconsciously she also sets up a system of surveillance to watch over the actions of the lower class?
Absolutely. Do you want to elaborate more on that?
As I said earlier, even when she watches over Achyutan, when Muttashi leaves that place, but again we can feel her presence through this child. She watches even his conversations. They are actually very discriminated, and she analyzes each and every word said by him. And with Nani, she watches over her and she accuses her of stealing that tamarind. So I think she, as you said earlier, she is trying to imitate her Muttashi in that manner.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we also should remember that when Mutashi is trying to feed her those stale dosa, she steps in and says, "You can't give this kind of food to a young child. She might probably fall sick." I mean, so you can see that she has a kind of a moral compass, a system, a black and white system, moral system, a black and white set of ideas about what is right and wrong, and she kind of applies it blindly. And when she says that the grandmother changes, her choice of the food that she gives the child, but the funny thing about Amu is that she is not very well aware of the way of the workings of the world. She doesn't know how a village community functions. She doesn't know the various layerings. She doesn't have a great idea about the rich and the poor and the dynamics behind that. So for her, a thief is a thief. That's it. That's the end of the story. A thief needs to be punished. And which is why when Nani Amma reacts, she reacts really pretty harshly to the girl. right? You keep your stuff, you're rich, you can afford to be very, very self-righteous. So all these remarks, so that's a big learning point, or a big, a turning point in Amu's life, because she has been in a protected environment. We can imagine her to be in a protected environment where the mutashi protects her from all these gossips, village gossips. Somebody kind of brings her from the train station, we have mutashi and the driver and the steward bringing her from the railway station. So she has lived a really protected lifestyle, and for the first time she comes across people who are completely different from her, who come from a completely different set of value system and lifestyles, and that jarring moment is realized in the story, and she feels guilty. That's a very, very interesting emotion, isn't it? To feel guilty. She hasn't committed any crime except accuse somebody rightly. That's what the narrative suggests, except accused rightly that somebody has stolen her grandmother's tambourine. But then why does she have to feel guilty? It's she becomes guilty for being rich, and that's the moment she feels sorry for the other woman and the child and people like her. So we can see new emotions form in the minds of the girl there. It's a really interesting point in the story.
Okay. There are many instances in summer vacation which presents a disciplinary mechanism in the house. So, ma'am, according to you, what is the impact of this system of discipline on the child?
Okay, we did talk about certain points in the story where Amu is disciplined, right? So one such instance is when the grandmother refuses to have this girl, have her tea with the other women in Tekene. That's one place where she disciplines her. The other place that she disciplines her is when she says, no, you are not, you're not fat, you're thin, you're dark, you need to be looked after. So she kind of puts her foot in and comments that way. And what are the other places where she disciplines her or discipline somebody else? We have Achutan being disciplined there. We have the village gossips being disciplined in an indirect way when she just leaves them and then goes away. And we have her disciplining those around her. For example, she refuses to talk to the clerk at the train station, right? The clerk who issues the tickets. So she refuses to make small talk with him. She refuses even to look at the Brahmin lady who wants to catch her eye and strike a conversation in the waiting room. She kind of disciplines what's his name, the steward, and says that you better buy a good book for the kid, don't buy all these vulgar books. She's constantly kind of bringing everybody into order and putting them in their place. So that's being continuous on her part.
Okay. The railway station in which Amu's father meets Mutashi is one of the most fascinating places in the story, according to me. So her father appears to have a sense of repulsion towards her maternal home. So how does a public space like railway station serve as a perfect place to set the ending of the story?
Okay, yeah, it's a very, very interesting space, and I did take some time to work out the significances of that railway station in the story. And train stations and trains are representation of modernity. They symbolize progress. They symbolize the idea of going forth, leaving behind something. And in the context of this story, it's the grandmother and her household and her way of life that's left behind. That's one way to look at it. But there is also the promise that's made by the father who's on the train, who's taking his daughter away from the grandmother, that the grandmother will never die, she will never die. And very interestingly, the wheels of the train seem to pick up that chant, she will never die, she will never die. So the engine of modernity, literally and metaphorically, seems to kind of give us this assurance that the past will not go away. It will be there somewhere hidden, where we can return to during summer vacations, during all those breaks, to revisit it, to enjoy its luxuries. At the same time, also see its iniquities that it kind of shows to the people who are vulnerable. So the past is going to be there. It's not going to be completely erased, but we are not going to stick to that. We're going to move ahead, move forward.
Okay, that's all, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. We'll catch up with you in the next session.